You've seen the symbol before, that black and white circle swirling in perfect balance. Maybe you've worn it on a necklace or seen it on a wall somewhere and thought, it's something about balance. But yin and yang go so much deeper than balance. They describe how life actually moves. Every rise and fall, every joy and heartbreak, every breath in and out, it's all part of the same rhythm. And once you start seeing that, really seeing it, something inside you relaxes. You stop fighting the flow of life and start moving with it. Everything in existence, from galaxies spinning in the dark to your heartbeat pulsing in your chest, comes from the play of opposites. Yin and yang aren't enemies locked in a battle. They're lovers in an eternal dance. One expands, the other contracts. One shines, the other rests. They depend on each other the way night depends on day to exist at all. Without one, the other loses meaning. Without darkness, how would you recognize the light? When you look closer, you start realizing how this pattern shows up everywhere. The inhale and exhale, birth and death, success and failure. They're all movements of the same energy. Life breathes in opposites, and that's what keeps it alive. The Taoists called this the rhythm of the universe. It's not random, it's how creation renews itself over and over again. Spiritually speaking, yin and yang are the universe's way of reminding you that contrast is sacred. The hard times aren't curses. They're just one side of the wave before it turns back into light. As Lao Tzu said, when the world knows beauty as beauty, ugliness arises. In other words, opposites are not problems to solve. They're mirrors showing you wholeness through difference. You can think of it like a heartbeat. If it ever stopped rising and falling, there'd be no life. The same goes for everything else. The dark valleys make the bright peaks possible. When you understand this, you stop labeling experiences as good or bad. You start seeing them as movements of the same sacred breath. And here's the wild part. Once you stop resisting that rhythm, life starts to feel a lot more peaceful. You begin to trust it. You realize there's a deeper intelligence guiding every up and down, something ancient and wise that's never stopped moving through you. In Taoist wisdom, yin and yang are sometimes called the feminine and masculine energies, not in a gendered way, but as expressions of how energy behaves. Yin is the quiet, nurturing current. It's the soft whisper that holds space for creation to happen. Yang is the active spark, the part that moves, builds, expresses. Together they create everything, from the stars in the sky to the emotions inside you. You carry both. Everyone does. The yin within you is the stillness that listens, feels, and receives. The yang is the force that acts, speaks, and creates. When they're in harmony, your life flows. When one dominates, you feel it. Burnout, apathy, frustration, confusion. The world today often glorifies yang, hustle, ambition, constant movement. But without yin, without stillness and reflection, all that energy burns out. Carl Jung called this balance the integration of the anima and animus, the inner marriage between your masculine and feminine sides. When one side is repressed, life feels incomplete. But when they meet, something divine happens. You start creating, not from ego but from soul. It's like your inner universe finally finds its rhythm. This union is what mystics call the sacred marriage. Heaven meeting earth inside you. The feminine receives divine inspiration. The masculine gives it form. The two work together like breath and heartbeat, invisible and visible, being and doing. That's what true balance feels like, not half of each, but full presence of both. And when you start honoring both energies, something magical shifts. You become compassionate without being passive, strong without being rigid. You stop chasing extremes and start living from your center, grounded, clear, and deeply alive. Now let's be honest, most of us live in a yang-driven world, always doing, always chasing. Rest is seen as laziness, silence as emptiness. But here's the secret the Taoists understood. It's the silence that gives the sound meaning. Without the emptiness of a cup, you couldn't drink from it. Without stillness, movement has nowhere to begin. Yin energy, the quiet, receptive side, is where true creation starts. It's the pause before the breakthrough, the darkness where seeds grow, the moment in winter when everything seems dead, yet life is secretly gathering strength underground. Spiritually, Yin is the space where transformation brews unseen. Alan Watts once called this the fertile void. It's that mysterious stillness where you're not forcing anything, yet everything begins to align. The Taoists had a term for it too, Wu Wei, effortless action. It's not about doing nothing. It's about acting in harmony with the flow, instead of fighting it. When you stop pushing and start trusting, you move with the same intelligence that guides the stars and tides. Maybe you've felt it before, that strange calm after letting go of something you've been clinging to. Suddenly, everything begins to click without you trying so hard. That's Yin working through you. That's divine order unfolding in silence. And when life slows down, when doors close, relationships end, or plans fall apart, it's not the universe abandoning you. It's the Yin phase calling you inward, preparing the next expansion. The retreat before the bloom, the inhale before the exhale. When you learn to rest in that space, to surrender, you align with the deepest rhythm of the Tao itself. Once Yin has gathered its strength in stillness, Yang enters, the fire that brings everything to life. It's the sunrise after the night, the movement that turns vision into reality. Without Yang, ideas would remain dreams forever. It's the energy that says, let's make this happen. But Yang without Yin's wisdom becomes chaos. Too much action, not enough reflection, and suddenly you're burning out instead of lighting up. Taoist masters knew that true power isn't endless movement. It's knowing when to move and when to pause. That's what they call dynamic equilibrium, the art of living in rhythm with the universe. Think of it like breathing. You can't just inhale endlessly. You'd collapse. You need the exhale too. Same goes for giving and receiving, speaking and listening, striving and resting. When one overtakes the other, life tilts off balance. But when both energies work together, everything flows, your health, creativity, even your relationships. The beautiful part about Yin and Yang is how they constantly give birth to each other. When Yang reaches its peak, it naturally softens into Yin. When Yin deepens into stillness, Yang arises again. It's like the seasons. Summer becomes autumn, winter becomes spring, a perfect cycle of death and renewal. Nothing stays one way forever, and that's exactly what makes life beautiful. So when things fall apart or feel too intense, remember, the energy is just shifting. Darkness doesn't mean it's over. It means something new is forming. You're simply in the phase before the next rise. Trust that rhythm, because it's been guiding the universe since the beginning of time. Now here's where it all comes together. Everything in life moves in circles, not straight lines. The Taoists understood this long before science ever tried to explain it. Nothing in existence stays fixed. It all breathes, expands, contracts, dies, and is born again. That's the secret heartbeat of the universe, the pulse of Yin and Yang. Day turns into night, night turns back into day. The inhale becomes the exhale, the seed becomes the tree, and the tree becomes soil again. What looks like an ending is always just the beginning of another form. Spiritually, this isn't random change. It's the law of transformation, the way the universe keeps itself alive through balance. When life feels chaotic, you're simply standing inside one half of that cycle. Maybe it's the dark half, the yin, the quiet, still, or even painful phase. It's easy to think something's wrong in those moments, that you've fallen off the path. But yin isn't punishment, it's rest. It's the universe pulling energy inward, preparing for the next rise of yang, the action, the light, the expansion. Everything in nature follows this rhythm. Even a wave must retreat before it can crash forward again. The key is learning to see both sides as sacred, to trust that contraction is not collapse, but the beginning of creation. Alan Watts once compared life to an ocean, and you're not separate from the waves. The crests and troughs aren't mistakes, they're how the ocean breathes. You can't have one without the other. Wanting only the highs is like asking the tide never to go out. Spiritually, Yin and Yang teach you to stop clinging to one side of experience. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, light and dark, they're all movements of the same divine current. The more you accept that, the less you suffer. Because you realize you're not being tossed by life, you are life, unfolding in rhythm. And when you begin to see the world this way, peace starts sneaking in through the cracks. Not because things stop changing, but because you stop fighting their change. You begin to understand that nothing is ever truly lost. Even pain becomes holy when seen as transformation in motion. Every storm you face eventually gives way to calm, not by chance, but by cosmic design. It's how the Tao restores harmony, balancing what has gone too far in one direction. Once you get that, you stop fearing the lows. You start meeting them with quiet faith, knowing they're shaping your next ascent. In that realization lies freedom. You stop living as though life is something happening to you and start moving as part of its pulse. You stop measuring progress in straight lines and begin feeling it in waves. That's the deeper spiritual meaning of Yin and Yang. Not just balance, but eternal renewal. Every fall makes space for a rise. Every ending clears ground for a beginning. The dance never stops, it only changes tempo. And once you align yourself with that dance, you stop chasing permanence and start flowing with eternity.